All right, we take you back down live to Opryland in Nashville, where our Matt Underwood is standing by. Matt, good news, bad news on Victorino. I would have liked to have had him, especially since the Indians, I don't even know if they were involved in Melky Cabrera. That's who I would have gone after. And if you look back, the money certainly was a lot more doable than $13 million a year for 3 years for a guy that some consider a fourth outfielder. But like I say, good news, bad news. I'm glad we didn't sign him for that kind of cash. God.
I tend to agree with you, Bruce. I think it was certainly a lot of money for a leadoff guy. Certainly Victorino's a terrific player. We know he's a good guy, good influence in the clubhouse, a guy who would fit right in on your ball club. But, to tie up that kind of money in a player who doesn't really impact the middle of your lineup, not really a big power guy. Certainly he hit home runs, but in Philadelphia, I think that's skewed a little bit because the ball flies in that ballpark. But bottom line is, I kind of agree with you. I think it's, on one hand, I think fans should be excited to see the fact that the Indians went out and made a legitimate offer. They actually offered more money than Boston. They offered him $44 million over 4 years. Red Sox deal annually was a couple $1 million more per season over 3, so Victorino, I think really what happened here at the end of the day, Bruce, is Victorino liked the Indians. I'm sure he likes Terry Francona. He looked at the situation. He took the Indians' offer and said to Boston, can you beat it or can you get close to it? And I think that's ultimately what happened. So now the Indians turned their attention elsewhere. They were in on Jason Bay. I think they definitely had an interest there. I don't know how vigorously they pursued him, but I think they were certainly interested. He ends up, from what I understand, signing a 1-year deal with the Seattle Mariners. So I think right now it leaves the Indians certainly with other options, but Nick Swisher seems to be the next man up on their radar. They've had talks with Joe Bick, his agent. I think Terry Francona, from what I understand, has talked to him on the telephone, Swisher personally. So now it's just a matter of wait and see once again. And unfortunately, that's where the tribe has been throughout these winter meetings. All
right, don't get ahead of me now. We just aired your interview with Matt Vasgersian from MLB Network, who said that some of the talk down there, big talk, is the kind of ungodly money that Victorino got from Boston. And then in the next breath, he was saying it's kind of refreshing to have the Indians involved in all these talks for the first time in several years. Yeah, that's great, except we're not getting anything done.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, you don't want to be the bridesmaid in this situation. You want to get a deal done. And I know, for Chris Antonetti and his guys up in that suite right now, they're trying. They made a legitimate offer, a very strong offer for Shane Victorino. But at the end of the day, they didn't get that deal done. So, again, they're going to look elsewhere. They're certainly not done. I asked Terry Francona, if they're frustrated, if they kind of expected this type of thing. He said there's no frustration. They're certainly very hard at work, and they want to try to come out of here with something. The bottom line is, can they either match up on a trade, with Asdrubal Cabrera seemingly being the guy that everybody's talking about down here, or can they get the right free agent to accept their offer?
Let's talk about what Ken Rosenthal is reporting, and that's this multi-team deal that certainly the Indians are involved in. Cabrera going, we assume, to Arizona, even Tampa Bay, and as I discussed with you yesterday, Shields' name was thrown out. Upton's the main guy from Arizona going to. Is there any chance that Upton could be the guy that the Indians get, or one of these prospects like Alt or Bauer, and I've heard his name too.
Yeah, it's hard to decipher, with so much information out there. But yeah, I think there certainly is a possibility that Upton is the guy who ends up in Cleveland. However, I don't think that's the odds-on favorite. I think the way it lines up, from what I'm understanding, if this deal even gets close to coming to fruition, is Upton, goes to Texas. You've got, or not Texas, Upton goes to Tampa. You're going to end up with, I'm losing track. I'm losing track of these guys.
Skaggs, Old, or Bob, one of the three kids coming to Cleveland?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably more likely scenario. The Texas Rangers, they might want Upton and they might want James Shields.
Right.
It's hard to decipher. Again, when you've got 3 and 4, and there was even rumor that there was a potential 5-team deal, you get so many different names flying around. But ultimately, it comes down to, for the Indians, Chris Antonetti, he's holding a hard line. He's got a very good bargaining chip in Asdrubal Cabrera. So if he's going to hold on to that chip, he wants to get maximum value in return. Now, I don't know that that's what's holding up any of these potential trade talks, but I don't blame him for holding a hard line. If you're going to make the deal, get what you want.
Talks that we hear that the Yankees have talked to Youkilis's agent, and Cashman came away not specifically naming Youkilis, but saying it's ridiculous what these guys are asking for that are possible replacements for Alex Rodriguez while he's going to be out. Youkilis is obviously one of those guys, even though Cashman did not mention his name. Is he going to be out of the ballpark for the Indians, or is the Francona relationship enough to sway him to come to Cleveland?
It's a possibility. I know that they've had conversations with Joe Bick, Kevin Youkilis's agent. I think that, what's interesting is when you're talking about a one-year deal, the dollars are going to go up. So for Kevin Youkilis, if he's talking about the Yankees for a one-year deal, Joe Bick, he might be looking at $20 million range, 15 and up. I think if he's talking about a multi-year deal with the Indians, he's probably looking in the $10 to $13 million a year range. So the question is, if you're Chris Antonetti and company, are you comfortable going 2, if not 3 years with a guy like Youkilis at those dollar amounts? I don't think that they are. I think that they would like to try to get him down maybe closer in the $6 to $8 million a year range. If that happens, if they get close to somewhere in the middle, the Indians could have an answer for first base this year.
Now, you mentioned Swisher earlier, but I remember seeing a report before the winter meeting started, Matt, that his agent was asking for, and they're always going to inflate what they want, but I saw as high as what averaged out to $18 million a year. Now, Swisher's a real good ball player. He's got the Ohio State ties, as we all know, but $8 million a year for Nick Swisher? Come on. Is he even feasible for the Indians? And, of course, he's better than Victorino, so if Victorino's going to get $13 million a year, I got to think Swisher's going to get not 18, but certainly 15, 16.
Yeah, I think that's where the Indians are at right now. I think they like him at a certain dollar figure. I don't think they like him at $18 million a year annually. With the Boston Red Sox seemingly out of the race for Swisher after they signed Victorino, I would have thought maybe that helped the Indians' cause. But I'm hearing that Boston might not necessarily be out of the running altogether, because there is some chance that they could maybe move Jacoby Ellsbury, and that would maybe put them back in on Nick Swisher. I think that's a long shot right now, given where Ellsbury is and his impending free agency, and I believe he's represented by Scott Boras. So I don't. And here's the other thing. I think Baltimore is a team that has shown interest in Nick Swisher, and if they get into the fray, I don't know how many dollars they have to spend, but my guess is they could jack the price up. It only takes one team to raise the price on Nick Swisher, and it knocks him out of the Indians' price range. But as we stand here right now, they're very much in on Nick Swisher.
Is there any life to the rumor on Mark Reynolds?
I don't believe so. And again, sometimes you hear rumors that have, a certain amount of validity. Sometimes you just hear rumors and you're not sure if that's coming from the other camp trying to, to make a deal. The problem is Mark Reynolds, he swings and misses a ton. Now, yes, he does have that power potential, and the Indians I think they would love to have some power in the middle of their lineup, but, I don't know where he fits defensively. He's played third base. I assume he can play some first base as well, but, the DH spot is certainly maybe a fit for him, but I don't think he's high on their priority list as we stand here right now.
Now, Matt, yesterday, let's assume that the Indians can get something done with Youkilis, Swisher. That still has not addressed the most crying need, in my opinion, and that's the starting rotation, and preferably the front end of the rotation. I asked you about Shields yesterday. We already touched upon this multi-team deal that his name is cropped up on. Is there anything with Edwin Jackson or some other starting pitcher aside from a kid like Bauer coming from Arizona, who their owner has just said they've lost faith in?
Yeah, I think right now the Indians' best chances of getting starting pitching comes in the Asdrubal Cabrera potential trade, whether it's a one-for-one deal with Arizona, whether it's a multi-team deal. I think that's going to be their best bet to acquire starting pitching in return. They might still explore the free agent possibility to go out there and add a starting pitcher through free agency if and only if they strike out on Swisher, because the money they would have spent there, maybe they can use to go after a free agent starting pitcher. But I think when you look at the starting pitching, the way they address that is through trade, whether it's Cabrera, whether it's Justin Masterson, we'll have to wait and see.
All right, Matt, any other hot rumors not involving the Indians you've caught wind of?
Not really. It's kind of interesting in that, every year I think there's more talk than action at the baseball winter meetings, but this one has really been void of the big headline-grabbing monster move. And I think a big reason for that, Bruce, is the top two guys are still sitting there.
Yeah.
Zach Greinke, Josh Hamilton. Neither one of these guys has signed. It's kind of got everybody stumped. The Dodgers figure to be the team to sign Greinke. The Angels are right there as well, but one of those two teams you would think should be able to close the deal and get that done. And the same thing goes for Josh Hamilton. I don't think there's a huge market for Hamilton. I'm surprised that, one, if not both of these guys hasn't already signed. And I got to believe, to a certain degree, that's what's sort of holding everything up here in Nashville.
Well, we've got a lot more of your interviews to air today and tomorrow. And anything breaks, Matt, give us a call before we leave the air today at 6.
Yeah, we're hot on the trail of it. If something pops up, you'll be the first to know.
All right, thanks very much. Matt Underwood down in Opryland, Nashville, reporting on the winter meetings.